The morning sun rose over New Busan like it had for 50 years. Golden light touched the green rice fields that went on forever. Far away, tall mining towers reached toward the purple sky of their new world. Jiwon Park stood on her office balcony drinking coffee. She was the governor of this place. 45 years old with gray hair and kind eyes. Before coming here, she had been a soldier on Earth. Now she took care of 2 million people who called this world home. The colony was doing well. They had turned a dead rock into a living world. Families lived in nice houses. Kids played in safe streets. The factories made things that were sent to other worlds nearby. Hyunwoo Kim kissed his wife Nari goodbye before going to work. Their twin kids, Daeho and Daehee, were 8 years old and getting ready for school. Hyunwoo worked in the mines, digging up rare metals from deep in the ground. It was good work that paid well. "Dad, will you help us with math tonight?" asked Daeho. "Yes, of course," Hyunwoo smiled. "Math is easy when you know the tricks." Nari worked as a teacher at the school. She loved watching human kids grow up under this alien sun. Sometimes she could not believe how far people had traveled from Earth. At the small army base, Captain Dong-Yun Lee read the daily reports. His 12 patrol ships were enough to stop pirates or smugglers. New Busan was peaceful. The biggest problem was usually teenagers racing their hoverbikes too fast through town. Captain Lee was 32 years old. He had served in Earth's Space Navy before asking to come to New Busan. He liked the quiet life here. His ships were small but worked well. His crews were good people who cared about keeping everyone safe. In his lab, Minho Choi looked at dirt samples from the south side of the planet. He was the colony's scientist who studied alien life. He had found 17 new types of tiny life and 3 kinds of plants. His dream was to meet smart alien creatures someday. The day seemed normal until alarm bells started ringing loud. "Captain Lee, come to the control room now," the speaker crackled. "We have an emergency." Lee ran to the control room. On the big screen, he saw his sensor officer, Lieutenant Young-Ho Park. "Sir, we see big ships coming toward our system. Ships we don't know." Lee felt his heart beat faster. "How many ships?" "At least 50, sir. Maybe more. They are huge, much bigger than anything we have." Lee looked at the sensor screen. The coming ships were massive, 10 times bigger than his patrol ships. They looked strange, like living diamonds made of crystal. "Send them a friendly message," Lee said. "Tell them this is human space. Ask what they want." Governor Park got to the army base in minutes. She stood next to Lee watching the alien ships get closer. "Could this be first contact with aliens?" she asked. "Maybe," Lee said. "Dr. Choi is coming to help us talk to them." The alien ships moved into space around New Busan. They were beautiful but scary. Their crystal bodies reflected sunlight like mirrors. Each ship was 3 miles long and covered with strange technology. "Are they answering our messages?" Park asked. "No, Governor. They are not saying anything." Minho Choi ran into the control room with his translation equipment. "Have they said anything? Any signals?" "Nothing at all," Lee replied. Suddenly, the lead alien ship started sending a message. Words appeared on their screens in perfect human language. "I am Thekvar, war commander of the Vorlak Empire. Your people will be our slaves or you will all die. You have 1 hour to give up your weapons and obey us." The control room went quiet. Governor Park felt ice in her stomach. "Send them an answer," she said quietly. "Tell them this is human land. Ask them to leave in peace," Lee sent the message. The answer came back right away. Bright energy beams shot down from the alien ships. The first target was the spaceport. Hyunwoo Kim was checking equipment near the landing area when the sky turned white. The explosion threw him 50 feet. When he tried to get up, he could not feel his legs. Captain Lee watched in horror as his 12 ships were destroyed in seconds. The patrol ship Harmony exploded in a ball of fire. 23 people died instantly. The Peaceful Dawn tried to run but was cut down by crystal beams that moved faster than light. "All ships destroyed," said Lieutenant Park with tears in his eyes. "Sound the alarm," Governor Park ordered. "Get everyone to the safe places underground." But the alien attacks were not aimed at army targets. The Vorlak ships fired on schools, hospitals, and homes. The school where Nari Kim taught disappeared in a blast of hot plasma. 300 children died in their classrooms. Hyunwoo crawled through the broken pieces of the spaceport calling for help. His legs were broken, but he was alive. Around him, human bodies lay twisted and burned. The air smelled like smoke and death. In the town, families hid in their basements. But the alien weapons could reach deep underground. House after house exploded as the bombing continued. Governor Park tried to help people escape from the command bunker, but there was nowhere to run. "The Vorlak ships covered the whole planet, Governor," Captain Lee said urgently. "We need to send a message to Earth, tell them what happened here." Park nodded. She turned on the emergency radio, hoping the signal would reach human space before the aliens destroyed it. "This is Governor Ji-Wan Park of New Busan Colony." She spoke into the microphone. "We are being attacked by aliens calling themselves the Vorlak Empire. They want us to be slaves. Our defense ships are gone. Many people are dead. Tell Earth. Tell them we fought hard. Tell them to remember us. Tell them to make these monsters pay." The message ended when energy beams destroyed the radio tower. The killing continued for 6 hours. Vorlak soldiers landed in crystal ships. They were tall, gray creatures with 4 arms and black eyes. They walked through the colony, killing any human they found. Taijin Ryu was a cargo pilot loading his ship when the attack started. He watched the killing from his ship, knowing he had to escape. 17 people made it to his ship, including wounded soldier So-Young Han. "We have to go," Han said, blood covering her uniform. "Someone has to tell Earth what happened." Ryu started his engines as Vorlak fighters looked for survivors. His damaged ship flew away from New Busan, carrying the last people who saw what happened. Behind them, the planet burned. 2 million humans were dead. The Vorlak had sent a message to the galaxy. This is what happens to those who fight the Empire. But they made one big mistake. They let someone escape to tell the story, and humanity was about to show them what real revenge looked like. Taijin Ryu's broken cargo ship reached Titan Station 3 weeks after New Busan died. The pilot had pushed his engines past their limits, racing across space to bring news of the killing. His 17 survivors were the only people left who saw humanity's worst day. Admiral Sunho Kang stood in the metal halls of Luna Command, watching the videos that Ryu had recorded. The pictures showed Vorlak soldiers shooting human children, families burned alive in their homes. The crystal alien ships turning a happy world into a graveyard. Kang was 58 years old and had served in space for 30 years. He had fought pirates and rebels, but nothing had prepared him for this. His hands shook as he watched Governor Park's last message. "Sir," his helper whispered, "President Nam is calling an emergency meeting." The president of the United Earth government sat in her office on Luna, surrounded by the leaders of humanity's military. Yoonji Nam was 42, a former diplomat who had spent her life trying to keep peace between Earth's colonies. "How many dead?" she asked quietly. 2 million confirmed, said General Seok Jin-yu. "The whole colony, men, women, children. No survivors except Ryu's group." President Nam closed her eyes. In her 10 years as leader, she had faced money problems and political fights. But humanity had been at peace for 200 years. They had never faced an enemy that wanted to destroy them completely. "What do we know about these Vorlak?" she asked. Intelligence Director Sung-Min Cho opened his files. "Based on the recordings, they have better technology. Energy weapons, faster ships, some kind of crystal-based technology we don't understand. They call themselves an empire, which means they control many worlds. How long before they attack other colonies?" President Nam asked. "We don't know. But they made their plan clear. Slavery or death." The room went quiet. Through the windows, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. 3 billion humans lived on that world, not knowing that their species now faced its greatest threat. "We have a choice," General Yu said. "We can try to talk or we can fight." Admiral Kang stood up. "They murdered children. There will be no talking." President Nam looked around the room. Every face showed the same thing, cold anger mixed with determination. "I'm authorizing Protocol 7, she said. "Total war. Every resource, every ship, every weapon we have." General Yu turned on his secure communication device. "All shipyards, all factories, all military bases. This is Code Black. Full production authorization. Build everything we have plans for." Across human space, the greatest war machine in galactic history roared to life. On Titan, the massive shipyards began their deadly work. Dr. Yura Shin, head of military research, watched as the first Ragnarok-class dreadnought took shape. The ship was 3 miles long and packed with enough firepower to crack a moon. "How many can we build?" asked Admiral Kang. "With full production? 100 Ragnaroks in 6 months, 5,000 heavy cruisers, 20,000 destroyers. The robot yards can work day and night." Captain Jae-hyun-oh commanded the destroyer UES Incheon. He had served on patrol duty for 8 years, chasing smugglers and keeping peace. Now he watched as hundreds of new ships joined the fleet every day. "I've never seen anything like this," his weapons officer said. "They're building a fleet big enough to conquer the galaxy." "Not conquer," Oh replied. "Destroy." "There's a difference." In the asteroid belt, mining stations changed into weapons factories. Kyu-hyun Bae, a 60-year-old veteran, came out of retirement to lead a marine attack division. He had fought in the colony wars 30 years ago, but this was different. This was personal. "Train them hard," he told his sergeants. "Train them to be killers, because that's what we're going to do. Kill every Vorlak we find until they're all gone." Young pilot Minji Ko left her engineering studies to join the fighter corps. She was 19 years old and had never fired a weapon in anger. But the pictures from New Busan had changed her forever. "Why did you volunteer?" her instructor asked during training. "Because they killed children," she replied, "and someone has to make them pay." The news of New Busan spread through human space like wildfire. Recruitment centers were full of volunteers. Factory workers put in 18-hour shifts. Scientists worked day and night on new weapons. Dr. Shin developed quantum torpedoes that could crack planets. Energy shields strong enough to stop star-level forces. The terrible Nova cannons that could light up a sun and kill entire solar systems. "These weapons are monstrous," her assistant said. "Good," Dr. Shin replied. "We're fighting monsters." President Nam visited the Titan yard 6 months after authorizing Protocol 7. She stood on the observation deck watching the fleet take shape. Hundreds of massive warships floated in space, their hulls shining with fresh armor and covered with weapons. 70,000 ships in the first wave, Admiral Kang reported. "Another 100,000 building. By the end of the year, we'll have more firepower than the rest of the galaxy combined." "Is it enough?" the president asked. "It will have to be. We're betting everything on this." The pilots trained in combat simulators. The Marines practiced attack tactics. The sailors learned to operate weapons designed to destroy worlds. All of them carried the same pictures in their minds: the burning homes of New Busan, the murdered children, Governor Park's final message. Captain Dong-hae Lim commanded the battlecruiser UES Vengeance. His ship was part of the new fleet, built specifically to hunt down and destroy Vorlak ships. "Sir," his navigator asked, "what if they surrender? Then they'll die quickly instead of slowly," Lim replied. The Vorlak Empire had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. They had conquered dozens of species, enslaved entire worlds, and believed themselves unbeatable. They had no idea what they had awakened. Admiral Kang stood on the bridge of the super dreadnought UES Soul's Fury, watching the final preparations. The ship was 6 miles long and carried enough firepower to burn a continent. "Fleet status?" he asked. 70,000 ships ready for combat, sir. All crews at battle stations. All weapons loaded and armed. Send the message to all ships," Kang ordered. "We go to war not for conquest, but for justice. We fight not for glory, but for the dead of New Busan. Show no mercy because they showed none." The greatest armada in galactic history prepared to jump to hyperspace. Their destination, Vorlak space. Their mission, total destruction of an empire that had made the fatal mistake of murdering human children. In the depths of space, robot factories continued building ships. More volunteers arrived every day. The war machine that humanity had built was just getting started. The Vorlak Empire had killed one colony. Humanity was about to show them what happened when you touched their people. The message was simple: mess with humans, and they will come for you with more ships than there are stars in the sky. And they were coming fast. The first Retribution fleet gathered at Rally Point Alpha like a metal cloud, stretching across the darkness. 70,000 human warships hung in perfect formation, their hulls shining under the light of distant stars. It was the largest military force ever gathered by any species in galactic history. Admiral Sunho Kang stood on the bridge of the super dreadnought UES Soul's Fury, watching the final ships arrive. Each ship represented months of non-stop building, thousands of workers, and humanity's burning desire for justice. "Final count, Admiral," reported his communications officer. 70,412 ships ready for combat. Kang nodded. 6 months ago, he had commanded a peaceful defense fleet of 300 ships. Now he controlled enough firepower to conquer half the galaxy, all because aliens had murdered human children. Commander Jiwan Park led the 15th Strike Wing from the cockpit of his experimental fighter, the Huaxiong. The ship was sleek and deadly, packed with quantum missiles and energy cannons. Park was 31 years old and had been training for this moment since New Busan fell. "All wings report ready," came the voice of ace pilot Yuna Lee over the radio. Her squadron had never lost a pilot in training. They were the best humanity had to offer. Intelligence Officer Sung-Min Cho briefed the fleet commanders in the main war room. Holographic displays showed Vorlak territory, marked with red symbols showing enemy positions. "The Vorlak Empire controls 47 star systems," Cho explained. "Their technology is advanced, but they've never faced an enemy with our industrial capacity. They rely on superior firepower and fear." Fleet Captain Wan Ho Song studied the tactical displays. His battlecruiser UES Daegu's Wrath would lead the first attack. Song was a veteran of the colony wars, but even he had never seen a fleet this large. "What's our first target?" Song asked. "Keth Mora," Admiral Kang replied. "A mining world they conquered from another species. 40,000 Vorlak defenders plus their slave workers. We'll show them what mercy looks like." The fleet jumped to hyperspace in perfect coordination. 70,000 ships disappeared from normal space, racing toward Vorlak territory at faster than light speeds. The journey would take 12 hours. During the flight, the crews prepared for battle. Marines checked their weapons and armor. Pilots ran final tests on their fighters. Engineers made sure every system was running perfectly. Marine Colonel Heejin Lim walked through the troop bays of the assault ship UES Warrior. Her soldiers were young volunteers who had signed up after seeing the footage from New Busan. They were ready to fight. "Remember your training," she told them. "The Vorlak are bigger and stronger than humans, but they've never faced an enemy that fights like us. We're not here to conquer. We're here to destroy." The Vorlak defenders at Keth Mora detected the human fleet hours before it arrived. War Commander Groktel had 50 crystalline warships and believed his position was secure. The humans were supposed to be a weak species, good only for slavery. "How many ships are approaching?" he asked his sensor operator. "Hard to count accurately, War Commander. The sensors show thousands, maybe tens of thousands." Groktel laughed. "Sensors must be broken. No species has that many ships." When the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace, the laughter stopped. 70,000 warships appeared in the Keth Mora system like an unstoppable tide. They filled space from one side of the system to the other. The Vorlak defenders looked like toys compared to the massive human dreadnoughts. "All ships, this is Admiral Kang," came the voice over fleet communications. "Remember New Busan. Show them what happens when you murder our children." The battle was not a fight. It was an execution. Human ships swarmed the Vorlak defenders like angry bees. Quantum torpedoes shattered crystalline hulls. Energy beams cut through alien armor like paper. The Vorlak technology was advanced, but they were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Commander Park dove his fighter through the chaos, targeting Vorlak command ships. His squadron moved like a pack of hunters, coordinating their attacks with deadly precision. "Enemy flagship at 2 o'clock, Yuna Lee called out. "Moving to attack." The Vorlak flagship Crystal Death was 2 miles long and armed with planet-killer weapons. It had terrorized a dozen species. Against the human fleet, it lasted exactly 4 minutes. Captain Song's battlecruiser led the assault on the Vorlak orbital stations. His guns fired continuously, turning enemy positions into expanding clouds of plasma and metal. "Target destroyed," his weapons officer reported. "Moving to next target. Keep firing," Song ordered. "Don't stop until they're all dead." The orbital bombardment was surgical and merciless. Human ships targeted military positions, weapon factories, and command centers, but they were careful to avoid areas where alien slaves were held. Colonel Lim led the ground assault once the orbital defenses were eliminated. Her Marines landed in drop pods, hitting Vorlak positions with overwhelming force. The Vorlak soldiers were 7 feet tall with gray skin and 4 arms. They fought with energy weapons and personal shields. Against human Marines with powered armor and quantum rifles, they didn't stand a chance. "Sector 7 clear," reported Lieutenant Junho Kim over the radio. "No survivors?" "Good," Lim replied. "Move to Sector 8. Kill everything that isn't human or slave." The battle for Keth Mora lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 50,000 Vorlak defenders were dead. The human fleet had lost 12 ships and 300 personnel. Admiral Kang stood in the ruins of the Vorlak command center, looking at the bodies of alien soldiers. These creatures had murdered children. Now they knew the price of that crime. "Sir," his aide reported, "we've freed 80,000 alien slaves from the mining camps. They're asking to help us fight the Vorlak." "Tell them they're welcome to join," Kang replied. "Anyone who wants to see the Vorlak Empire burn is a friend of humanity." News of the victory spread through human space within hours. Recruitment centers were overwhelmed with new volunteers. Factory production increased again. The war machine grew larger and hungrier. But Kethamora was just the beginning. 3 more Vorlak border worlds fell in the next 2 weeks. Each battle followed the same pattern. Massive human fleets appeared, destroyed the defenders completely, and freed any slaves they found. The Vorlak Empire began to realize they had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked a species that seemed peaceful, thinking humanity would be easy to conquer. Instead, they had awakened a monster. Captain Jae-hyuno commanded a destroyer squadron in the 4th Battle Group. His ships had participated in every fight so far, hunting down fleeing Vorlak ships with ruthless efficiency. "Sir," his navigator asked, "how long do you think this war will last?" Oh looked at the tactical display showing human fleets advancing on multiple fronts. More ships arrived every day. The industrial machine back home was producing ships faster than they could be deployed. "Until every Vorlak is dead," he replied. "However long that takes." The galaxy watched in amazement and terror as humanity's war machine rolled forward. Species that had been conquered by the Vorlak cheered their liberators. Others wondered if humanity would stop with the Vorlak or keep going. But Admiral Kang's mission was clear and simple. The Vorlak Empire had murdered 2 million human civilians. Now they would pay the ultimate price. The message was spreading through the galaxy. Never attack human children. Because if you do, they will come for you with every ship they can build, every weapon they can make, and every soldier they can train, and they will not stop until you are extinct. The war was just getting started. Emperor Vashtol of the Vorlak Empire stood in his crystal palace, watching the holographic displays that showed his empire burning. Each red dot represented a world lost to the human advance. In 2 months, 12 border systems had fallen. The humans were advancing faster than his armies could retreat. "Explain this to me," the emperor growled at his war council. "How does a weak species field 70,000 warships?" War Chieftain Groknar, veteran of 100 conquests, struggled to find words. "Your Majesty, we believed the humans were weak. Our intelligence was wrong. They have industrial capacity beyond anything we have seen." The emperor was 12 feet tall with silver skin and burning red eyes. For 300 years, he had ruled an empire that stretched across 47 star systems. No species had ever resisted the Vorlak for more than a few months. "How many ships do they have now?" he demanded. "Our estimates suggest 200,000. Maybe more. Their shipyards work continuously." The emperor's rage shook the crystal walls of his throne room. "Impossible. No species can build ships that fast." But the reports kept coming. Human fleets appeared everywhere, always in overwhelming numbers. They showed no mercy and took no prisoners. Vorlak colonies that had stood for centuries were reduced to rubble in hours. On the human side, Fleet Admiral Chang Ho-jian commanded the 2nd Retribution Fleet from his flagship, UES Indomitable. His 200,000 ships were spread across 7 sectors, cutting Vorlak supply lines with surgical precision. "Enemy convoy detected in the Theta sector," reported his tactical officer. 50 supply ships with light escort. "Send the 12th Battle Group," John ordered. Standard procedure: destroy everything. The human war machine had found its rhythm. Every day brought new ships from the automated yards. Every battle brought new victories. The Vorlak Empire was being systematically dismantled piece by piece. Admiral Boram Song led a hunter-killer group designed to track down Vorlak fleet units. Her ships were fast and deadly, equipped with long-range sensors and quantum torpedoes. No Vorlak ship that entered her patrol zone ever left it. "Contact bearing 37 Mark 12, her sensor operator reported. "Vorlak Battle Group, 15 ships. All units attack formation," Song commanded. "Show them how humans hunt." The battle was over in 20 minutes. 15 Vorlak ships became expanding clouds of debris. Song's fleet moved on to the next target without slowing down. Captain Do-hyun Moon commanded the stealth destroyer UES Mokpo, specially designed for intelligence gathering behind enemy lines. His crew included Sensors Officer Cheong Park and Weapons Specialist Jungkook An. "We're approaching the Vorlak inner defense zone," Park reported quietly. Multiple patrol groups detected. Moon studied the tactical display. The Vorlak were pulling their forces back, creating a defensive shell around their core worlds. It wouldn't save them. Mark all military targets, he ordered. Fleet Command needs to know what they're planning. The intelligence his ship gathered would help plan the final assault. But first, the Vorlak would try one desperate gambit. Emperor Vashatol had made a fateful decision. If the humans wanted war, he would give them war. Every ship in the Empire would be gathered for one massive attack on the human home system. 50,000 ships, he announced to his war council. We will strike at their heart, the Sol system. Destroy Earth, and their will to fight dies with it. War Chieftain Groknar was worried. Your Majesty, pulling ships from our defensive lines will leave our core worlds vulnerable. The humans are winning because they think they are safe, the Emperor replied. We will show them that no one is safe from the Vorlak Empire. The largest Vorlak fleet in history began moving toward human space. 50,000 crystalline warships, including the Emperor's personal flagship, Death of Worlds. It was a ship designed to crack planets and burn civilizations. But humanity had been preparing for this moment. Admiral Sang-hyun Lee commanded the home defense fleet from his position in the asteroid belt. His ships had been waiting for months, hidden among the rocks and ice. When the Vorlak fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Mars, they flew into a trap. All units weapons free, Lee transmitted. Protect Earth. Avenge New Busan. The Battle of the Asteroid Belt became the largest space engagement in galactic history. 50,000 Vorlak ships faced 60,000 human defenders. The fighting was savage and desperate. Commander Hyunwoo Ryu led Fighter Wing Alpha into the heart of the enemy formation. His pilots had trained for this moment since the war began. They struck the Vorlak command ships with precision and fury. Emperor's flagship is moving toward Earth, he reported. All wings converge on target. The Death of Worlds was 9 miles long and armed with weapons that could shatter moons. But it had never faced human quantum torpedoes fired by pilots who remembered burning children. Captain Sung Min-oh commanded the dreadnought UES Guardian. His ship carried the most powerful weapons humanity had ever built. When the Emperor's flagship fired its planet killer at Earth, Oh was ready. All batteries target the enemy flagship, he ordered. Fire everything we have. The Guardian's guns fired continuously for 10 minutes. Quantum torpedoes, nova cannons, and antimatter missiles slammed into the Vorlak flagship. The Death of Worlds died in a nuclear fire that lit up the solar system. Emperor Vashatol died with his ship, still believing that his empire was unbeatable. He was wrong. The Battle of the Asteroid Belt lasted 18 hours. When it was over, every single Vorlak ship had been destroyed. The human defenders had lost 8,000 vessels. But Earth was safe. Dr. Jamin Ko watched the battle from his laboratory on Titan. His latest weapons, nova cannons that could light up stars, had performed perfectly. The Vorlak Empire was learning that humanity's industrial capacity was matched only by their creativity in building instruments of destruction. Sir, his assistant asked, should we begin production of the Starkiller weapons? Yes, Ko replied, watching the debris of 50,000 enemy ships drift through space. If they want to escalate, we'll show them what escalation really means. News of the victory spread through human space like wildfire. The Vorlak had thrown their best punch and achieved nothing except their own destruction. Now the path to their homeworlds was open. War correspondent Young-ho Shim documented the aftermath of the battle. His reports showed liberated alien species celebrating in the streets of their worlds. The galaxy was choosing sides, and everyone wanted to be on humanity's winning team. The Vorlak Empire ruled through fear, he wrote. But humans have shown the galaxy something more powerful than fear, righteous anger backed by unlimited industrial capacity. Fleet, Admiral John received new orders from Earth. The second and third Retribution fleets would combine for the final push into Vorlak core territory. Their target, the Emperor's throne world itself. How many ships will we have for the final assault? Asked his chief of staff. Conservative estimate? 400,000, but the shipyards are still building. By the time we reach their home world, we might have 500,000. Captain Moon's stealth ship transmitted its final intelligence report from deep in Vorlak space. The enemy was pulling all remaining forces back to defend their core worlds. They were preparing for a last stand. But the intelligence also revealed something else. ancient weapons hidden in the Emperor's vaults. Planet killers and bioweapons from the Vorlak's earliest conquests. The enemy was preparing to destroy entire star systems rather than surrender. Admiral Lee reviewed the intelligence data with growing concern. They're going to try to take as many worlds with them as possible. Then we'll have to stop them, replied Admiral John. Whatever it takes. The final phase of the war was about to begin. Humanity had built the largest fleet in galactic history, conquered an empire that had ruled for 1,000 years, and shown the galaxy what happened to species that murdered human children. But the Vorlak had one last card to play. And they were desperate enough to use weapons that could crack planets and poison entire star systems. The war that had begun with the murder of one colony was about to decide the fate of the galaxy itself. The new Vorlak Emperor, Kreshvar, stood in the ruins of his brother's crystal palace. Emperor Vashatol had died at the Battle of the Asteroid Belt, along with 50,000 of their finest ships. Now Kreshvar faced a choice that would determine the fate of his entire species. The humans have 400,000 warships approaching our core worlds, reported War Chieftain Thekmol. Our remaining forces number less than 80,000. Kreshvar was younger than his brother, but just as ruthless. If the Vorlak Empire was going to die, he would make sure the galaxy burned with it. Open the ancient vaults, he commanded. Activate the Doomsday Protocol. Deep beneath the Crystal Palace, weapons that had been locked away for 1,000 years stirred to life. Planet crackers that could shatter worlds, bioweapons that consumed entire ecosystems, star killers that could light up suns and sterilize solar systems. The Vorlak had built these weapons during their first conquests, when they were young and filled with rage. They had been sealed away because they were too dangerous to use. Now, facing extinction, Kreshvar no longer cared about the consequences. Humanity's response was swift and overwhelming. President Yunji Nam authorized final protocol, the deployment of every ship, every weapon, every soldier the human race could field. Grand Admiral Wu Jinbaek assumed supreme command of all human forces from his flagship, UES Vengeance Eternal. The ship was 12 miles long and carried enough firepower to crack a moon. But even this massive vessel was dwarfed by the fleet surrounding it. Fleet status report, Baek commanded. 700,000 warships ready for combat, sir, his aide replied. Every shipyard in human space is working at maximum capacity. We have the largest military force in galactic history. Baek studied the tactical displays showing human fleets advancing on multiple fronts. It was beautiful and terrifying, a metal tide that would wash away everything in its path. Admiral Soman Kang led the Third Fleet against the fortress world of Zarthek. Her 50,000 ships faced the strongest Vorlak defensive position outside their home system. The planet was covered with crystal towers that could destroy fleets. All units maximum firepower, she ordered. Show them what human engineering can do. The assault on Zarthek lasted 3 days. Human ships fired continuously, turning the planet's crystal defenses into glowing slag. When the orbital bombardment ended, the world's surface looked like molten glass. General Junho Im coordinated the ground assault with surgical precision. His Marines landed in waves, clearing Vorlak strongholds with methodical efficiency. They had learned to fight the tall, four-armed aliens with tactics that maximized human advantages. Sector 12 secured, reported Colonel Min Jae-woo over the radio. No survivors. Good, Im replied. Move to Sector 13. Keep the pressure on. Marine Haeun-young fought in the bloody tunnel systems beneath Zarthek's capital city. The Vorlak had retreated underground, turning every corridor into a killing zone, but human soldiers were relentless. Flash grenades ready, she called to her squad. On my mark, mark. The Vorlak defenders were blinded by the light. Jung's squad advanced through the smoke, their quantum rifles cutting down enemies with precise shots. No quarter was given because none had been asked for, but the real battle was yet to come. The Vorlak had activated their ancient weapons, and the first target was a human colony world called New Harmony. The planet died in minutes. A Vorlak bioweapon consumed every living thing on the surface, turning a world of 3 million people into a dead rock covered in gray slime. The message was clear. If the Vorlak were going to lose, they would take as many humans with them as possible. President Nam received the news in her office on Luna. Another colony gone. Another 3 million civilians murdered by alien monsters. Her hands shook as she watched the footage of New Harmony's death. How many of these weapons do they have? She asked. Unknown, replied Intelligence Director Cho. But our estimates suggest dozens, maybe hundreds. They could destroy every human world if we give them time. Nam's face hardened. Then we don't give them time. End this war now. The largest space battle in galactic history began in the Vorthak system. The Vorlak homeworld was defended by every remaining ship in their empire, plus the ancient weapons they had awakened. Pilot Shungho No flew his advanced fighter Tiger into the heart of the enemy formation. Around him, 1,000,000 ships clashed in a battle that would decide the fate of 2 species. Enemy dreadnought at 3 o'clock, his wingmate called out. Moving to engage. Stay in formation, No replied. Remember your training. The Battle of the Seven Suns lasted 3 days and covered an entire star system. Human ships advanced in perfect waves, absorbing casualties and pressing forward with mechanical precision. For every human vessel lost, 10 Vorlak ships were destroyed. Captain Taeyong Kim commanded the dreadnought UES Busan's Vengeance, named for the colony where the war had begun. His ship led the final assault on the Vorlak defensive lines, its massive guns firing continuously. All batteries target the enemy superfortress, he ordered. Fire until it's dust. The Vorlak superfortress Crystal of Eternity was 30 miles long and armed with planet-killer weapons. It had protected the home world for 1,000 years. Against human quantum torpedoes, it lasted 6 hours. Lieutenant Yuban Han served as a diplomatic liaison, accepting surrenders from Vorlak units that chose to give up rather than die uselessly. But most aliens fought to the death, believing their empire was eternal. Vorlak Battle Group requesting terms, she reported to Fleet Command. Standard terms, came the reply. Unconditional surrender and trial for war crimes. No exceptions. The Vorlak Imperial Guard made their final stand at the fortress world of Morkoth. These were the elite troops who had conquered a dozen species and believed themselves unbeatable. They died to the last soldier, overwhelmed by human forces that outnumbered them 1,000 to 1. Captain Wonsak Park led the assault on the Vorlak Weapons Research Facility. His Marines fought through laboratories filled with bioweapons and planet crackers, destroying everything they found. Sector 7 clear, he reported. All weapons destroyed. Good, replied General Im. How many facilities left? 17 confirmed, sir. Maybe more. The systematic destruction of Vorlak superweapons continued as human forces swept through their core worlds. Ancient weapons that could crack planets were turned to scrap metal. Bioweapons were burned to ash. Star killers were dismantled piece by piece. But the Vorlak had one final surprise. Deep in the core of their homeworld, they had hidden the ultimate weapon, a device that could trigger the system's star to go supernova, destroying everything within 50 light-years. Emperor Kreshavar activated the weapon with his dying breath as human marines stormed his throne room. If we cannot rule the galaxy, he gasped, then no one can. The star began to destabilize. Human scientists had minutes to stop a supernova that would kill billions. Dr. Yura Shin worked frantically in her mobile laboratory, analyzing the alien device. It's using quantum resonance to destabilize the star's core, she reported. I might be able to reverse the process. How long do you need? Asked Grand Admiral Bayek. 10 minutes. Maybe 15. You have 5, Beck replied. After that, we evacuate the fleet. Shin's hands flew over her instruments, recalibrating quantum frequencies and adjusting energy flows. Around her, the star grew brighter as fusion reactions ran out of control. With 30 seconds to spare, she reversed the process. The star stabilized. The supernova was stopped. The galaxy was saved. The Vorlak homeworld surrendered 3 hours later. Emperor Kreshavar was dead. His armies were destroyed. His ancient weapons were neutralized. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years was finished. Grand Admiral Beck stood in the ruins of the Crystal Palace, looking at the bodies of the last Vorlak leaders. These creatures had started a war by murdering human children. Now their species faced extinction. What are your orders, sir? Asked his aide. Beck was quiet for a long moment. 700,000 human ships filled the space around the planet, enough firepower to sterilize 100 worlds. The choice was his. Establish occupation zones, he finally said. Begin war crimes trials. Any Vorlak who participated in the New Busan massacre will face justice. And the others? They'll live. But they'll never forget what happens when you attack human civilians. The war was over. But the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had proven that their peaceful nature had limits. Cross those limits, murder their children, and they would come for you with more ships than there were stars in the sky. The Vorlak Empire was finished, and every species in the galaxy had learned a simple lesson: never ever threaten human children.